The story so far. The dangerous outlaw Leon Cabraz, the lawman John Malcolm, assigned by blackmailing ranger Lindsay Kurtz to hunt Cabraz down. Joining him, sharpshooting rancher Cathryn Angle, the tailor's assistant Morwenna Abrams, the railway worker Albert Little, and the heroic Mexican lawman Javier Salvador. Together, they are known as the Lion Goats. As John, Javier, and Cathryn ventured down in Cabraz's bunker, Morwenna and Albert kept guard at the front.
I can hear horses approaching.
Those look like Capra's mercenaries. Come around the back of the property.
Oh no. How good are you now with that gun?
Time to find out. Don't fire yet.
Where are they going? Looks like a trapdoor. Hold up, more coming. Looks like it's our friend who attacked us out in the desert.
Hey, it's them!
Quick as a flash, Morwenna shot him down. She was even surprised herself as she ducked behind cover.
Somehow I think I'm even better at shooting with my right hand.
They're trying to escape. Let's finish them off.
They mounted their horses and raced after the fleeing mercenaries. Through the rows of corn and wheat. Holding her breath, she lined up a shot on the closest. A hit. The rest of the mercenaries made a sharp turn right and continued along the fence line. Morwenna grabbed the reins and spurred her horse alongside one of them. Albert chased them out of the fence and into the plains, and finished off the third.
Ow!
Is it your arm?
Yeah, I think I opened the stitches.
Let's head back to the wagon.
They returned to the farm together. Walking past the trapdoor, Morwenna noticed it was open. She approached it, bending to look on the ground in the moonlight. Footprints, scurrying, leading out, down the path and out of the gate. As Albert drove the wagon around, he handed the reins to Morwenna, and away they went, following the trail into the night. Later on, as John and Cathryn sat by an injured Javier on the farmhouse porch, they heard the sound of horses approaching. Down the drive, uniformed lawmen, Mexican and American, astride horses and carriages. And who was leading the pack? Bureau of Investigation Agent Robinson, Mexican Police Captain Salamanca, and Texas Ranger Lindsay Kurtz.
Oh, great.
So, this is the home of an outlaw.
Actually, it's the modest dwellings of a disgraced politician, not the gateway to hell as you led us to believe.
Maybe not to hell, but there's a secret passageway down in the basement, Kurtz.
Send some men down there. Get it cleaned up.
Is Mr. Salvador okay?
He's been shot in the chest. What do you think?
Actually, I think I'm going to be okay.
Damn it.
Get a bag for Mr. Salvador.
How did you lot get here?
My son dutifully reported your whereabouts this morning. We were not to know Leon Cabraz's base would be so close to home.
Captain Salamanca, you're mistaken. Of course we knew this was here.
Did you? Kinda makes me wonder why you had us running around the desert for the last week.
You know why, John. You said so yourself last time we met. What happened to the rest of your team?
MacDonald was killed, Morrill missing. Morwenna and Albert presumably rode west after Cabraz's men.
Found this one in the basement.
The yellow-eared American scum!
Who's this one, then?
Ava, Leon's sister.
Oh, very good. Lock her up. Now, what about Cabraz himself?
He escaped down the tunnel.
Well, go find him, then.
He can't have got far. Send your boys to go find him. We're done here.
Oh, so you won't be needing that $2,000 anymore?
No, not from you. How many people have died? Why go after Cabraz? Ben Kramer, the headhunters, that I get. But why him?
He was a threat to our way of life, John. Sure, I might have stretched the facts a bit.
The devil incarnate with an army of demons, you said.
Yeah, something to that effect. But I don't expect you understand the danger he posed.
He performed acts of charity.
We can't have acts of charity. Then what use would the government be? People can't just rely on handouts, free goods for nothing in return. This is the United States of America.
This is Mexico.
Land of the free, home of the something or other, where the strong prevail and lead the rest, where the weak suffer at the hands of disease, poverty, madness, violence, tuberculosis. Try it, John. See how far you can go after shooting a Texas Ranger in front of the 50 government agents.
He's not the one with the gun.
You're spirited, Miss Engel, just like your parents.
Kurtz, the basement bunker is cleared. Paintings and books loaded onto the wagons. There's no sign of Cabras, but we do now have a visual identifier for him.
Not the prettiest painting, is it? Very well. Light it all up, send some men out and scour the land. He can't have got far. Mr. Malcolm and Miss Engel are relieved of their duties. I suppose it's only fair we pay them something for their work. $100 each, maybe?
John and Cathryn watched with sadness as the farmhouse crops were set alight and Leon Cabras' legacy up in flames, before they turned and left back for Laredo. The night was long and cold, but when the sun rose, the heat was stifling. Leon Cabras had not stopped running since he escaped the bunker, and as he ran, he thought over those moments in the bunker again and again. Everything was going to plan. He knew the day the government would find him would come, and he'd prepared himself for that. He'd sent his sister Eva away from harm, seen off his final food deliveries to the struggling villages around the state, and left the locks to his hidden bunker exposed so he could be found. He would give himself up, to either be imprisoned for the rest of his life or hanged. Either way, it was in his terms. Not as ideal as living the rest of his days on the farm, and not to give his captors the satisfaction. But Eva just didn't listen and stormed back in there, guns blazing, causing more death and chaos he tried so hard to keep out of. Now he ran into the wilderness, trying to get away as much as he can. He knew he'd been shot, so he didn't have long. A valiant effort, but not enough. It wasn't long before his body was found. She might not have been a tracker, but Cathryn's teachings had given Morwenna all she needed to find him. Albert was still alive, but he'd passed out due to his injuries, the heat, and the hard drive the previous day. So, he slept on the wagon. Morwenna pushed on, and her persistence had been rewarded. She stepped down and approached Leon, looking him over. The reason they had come out here, well, for $2,000. All this bloodshed, was it worth it? And how was she going to get the body in the wagon by herself? She looked him over. A voice crossed her mind. Walter McDonald, of all people.
If you find yourself with a dead bounty, you don't need to cart the whole body back. You just need proof you got him. Trust me, it's easier to transport a hand or a head than a cadaver.
Knowing what had to be done, she returned to the wagon, looking for a blade, a knife, an axe, anything. And all there was a shovel. She took it and returned to Cabras' body. Shovel in hand, she looked him over. Went to raise it, but stopped.
She is an Injun, Marshal. Not that she can help it.
We don't serve their kind in here.
Some call it savagery, but they do take your scalps, though.
Savage.
Wear them on their belts. You got any, Morwenna?
Are you going to bite me like a dog, you horrid little girl?
You're a savage woman. Savage witch.
All these Indians are the same.
Savage. Oh, yeah. So tough and scary. You witch.
No. Too easy.
She dropped the shovel and grabbed Cabras by the ankles, barely managing to drag him to the wagon. It was a struggle. Finally she got him in, covering him, climbing back into the driver's seat, and riding off into the desert. John and Cathryn had returned to their normal lives. Kurtz had kept his word, for once, and they both went to find $100 in their account for the Mexican adventure. A week after returning home, John made the ride back out to Engel's ranch to see Cathryn. Arriving there, he checked the house before spotting her on the hill overlooking the ranch. He made his way up to find her tending to a grave, her husband's grave.
Morning.
Howdy. What brings you out here today?
No reason. Just wanted to see you.
Well, here I am.
How are you holding up?
I'm fine. Better than I was before Mexico. The money helped, but it's almost run out. You?
Fine.
I read in the papers Javier was buried in Nuevo Laredo. Have you heard from Morwenna and Albert?
Albert showed up yesterday. His arm's better, and he's returned to his job at the railway station. Morwenna I haven't seen or heard from. She's not gone back to the tailor's, that's for sure. But Albert said he saw her off from Laredo a few days ago.
Well, they're both alive. That's all I wanted to know.
He gave me something. Apparently, Morwenna managed to find Cabras. Dead, it turns out. Javier did manage to get him when he was aiming for Ava. But together, Albert and Morwenna hauled Cabras into town before Kurtz and the others got back, and claimed the bounty, and they split it 4 ways. Here's your share. $500.
Oh my, thank you. I'll have to ride into town and thank him.
And I want you to take my share, too. You need it more than I do. Just thinking about what happened, life's too short. You and I, we've wasted enough time. However many years it's been, haven't we?
Yeah, I say we have.
I understand why you ran away from home. You explained that.
And I know why you ran with Harlan and his gang as an outlaw. I understand. Now I know things aren't so black and white.
I was worried if it ever came out. People would use it to harm my family, to sully your name. I pushed you away, and that was wrong. And like I said, we've wasted enough time. You always were my daughter, Cathryn. You always will be. Can you forgive me?
I can, Pa. Thank you.
Years of silence was finally broken as the two hugged each other, father and daughter once more.
Ma would think we were such fools. She knew it all and stood by you.
She sure would have. She would have set us right that night when you were 14.
Ah, what's this? Family reunion?
This is private property.
And is that supposed to stop me? Now, I don't suppose any of you happen to claim a bounty of $2,000 in Laredo last week.
No? What do you mean?
Well, last week after me and my agent spent several days combing the deserts for the whereabouts of Leon Cabras, his body somehow showed up in the Laredo morgue, and the bounty was claimed. Albert Little claims to know nothing. The Indian woman's gone missing, which only leaves you lot.
The only money we've got is the money you compensated us last week.
So, you know nothing about it?
Nothing whatsoever.
Right then. Now I've got to come up with $2,000 that's just vanished into thin air.
Sounds like a real pickle you're in.
Well, I suppose you two are in need of the money. A ranch this size, Miss Engel, would cost a lot to run.
It sure does. Thankfully, Pa lent me his $100 to cover the rest of your costs.
If you're interested, there's a job being lined up next month. No obligation. We realize now threats don't tend to do the job to a satisfying level. So instead, we strongly advise you consider it.
What is it?
Well, Walden MacDonald has a brother, it turns out, and he's heard dear old Walden is lying somewhere in a pauper's grave in the middle of nowhere, and he's not too happy about it.
Well, you shouldn't have told him then.
Well, I had to. It was a decent thing to do, isn't it? But like I said, he's not too happy. I imagine he'd be out for revenge to find whomsoever was responsible. Turns out he, too, could also pose a threat to our country and our way of life.
Why, what is he? A politician?
A banker, funnily enough. The job's open, if you two want it, to venture into the Canadian wilderness to find Arne MacDonald. What do you say?
Ready, Pa?
Let's head out there into that white hell. Oh, yeah, that's too cold.
Well, Marshal Malcolm, it's about time.
Well, that just about wraps up the story. Kinda went to a few places I didn't expect. Got a bit sad in places, like Javier. But his money helped the village. John and Cathryn saw to that. Despite the best efforts to crush, Leon Cabras's legacy continued for years to come. Albert got himself a fancy new riding gear and Morwenna rode off into the sunset. No one quite knows where she ended up. Maybe Cathryn and John got to see her again. And maybe she's closer than any of us know.
Bartender, I'd like a drink, please.
How's life on the road?
Quiet. I could do with some quiet after all those years in that tailor's.
I was going to say, it's a nice suit you've got yourself.
Oh, thank you. Made it myself. At least those skills come in handy.
Are you headed to Dallas next?
McCarthy first, then up to Dallas, then wherever life takes me. How about you?
I might head up to Canada. Or I might catch up with you sometime.
That'd be nice. Anyway, bounties to hunt, scores to settle. See you around.
Yeah. See you, Miss Abrams. Well, I'd say that's about it. Remember, you've been listening to the Lion Gods. See you next time.